doing well. Welcome back to the channel. So recently, as we saw, Artur Beterbiev has called out Dmitry Bivol, made a statement on his social media, pretty much saying, what's going on, and really, made a call out to Dmitry Bivol saying, when are you going to fight me and how old, do I have to be? Now, actually, if you want to look at my channel, I made a video about a couple weeks ago on my thoughts and just, why has this trilogy not been announced yet? I feel like it was a situation where Dmitry Bivol was trying to age out Beterbiev, and I think Artur Beterbiev has really just confirmed that. Now I'm someone, look, I've got nothing against Dmitry Bivol. I think that he is a good fighter, but in my opinion, I think he's got a lot of holes that obviously, we're going to go ahead and discuss today. I think number one, Artur Beterbiev is someone that, 4, 5, 6 years ago always wanted this fight. He made it clear that he wanted to fight Dmitry Bivol. And Bivol not one time called out his name. Not one time did he make any effort to fight Artur Beterbiev. And I think he was trying to age him out then. I think he was pretty much, put into a corner where he had to fight Beterbiev. Turkey Al-Sheikh got into boxing. Saudi Arabia, the dynamic really changed. And Bivol, really was forced into that fight. The first fight, I thought Dmitry Bivol fought very well. I think it was a fight of two halves, really, where Bivol, I think he won the first half of that fight. He did very well, but again, I always thought that was more down to the fact that Artur Beterbiev was trying to have a boxing match with him, and I thought he was just, way too cautious that first 6 rounds. Obviously, this was an Artur Beterbiev coming off of a knee surgery, and I think he was, very cautious that first 6 rounds. And then as he started to go to work, Bivol really, couldn't hang with him in the last half of that fight. And I thought Artur Beterbiev won 5 of the last 6 rounds. And I thought he won the first fight fair and square. Keep in mind, that was a 39-year-old Artur Beterbiev coming off of a knee surgery. Artur Beterbiev won that fight. Bivol wanted the rematch. Immediately, Artur Beterbiev gave him that rematch. I've watched that fight numerous times. I'm a boxing fan. I've watched numerous boxing fights. It does not matter how many times that I watched that fight. I will always thought that Beterbiev won it. Always. Now that fight was actually a little bit the opposite, whereas Artur Beterbiev came out very strong. After 6 rounds, I think you could have easily had him up 5-1, potentially 4-2. I think Bivol, fought well in some of the middle rounds, in the later rounds. But I think again, Artur Beterbiev fought well at the end. I think as well, on DAZN, I think a lot of people are failing to remember this. Artur Beterbiev is coming to Saudi Arabia and he's coming to these fights with no promoter. Bob Arum, yes, his fighters, will fight on these Riyadh Saudi cards, but Bob Arum is pretty much never really in attendance. So Artur Beterbiev, he's going there on his own. Bivol, he's going there with Eddie Hearn. Turkey Al-Sheikh is a massive fan of Bivol. And all those DAZN commentators, remember, Bivol fights on DAZN, so, all those commentators are going to really cloud a lot of people's judgment. I thought there were numerous times in that fight where he was not landing clean. Was letting his hands go. Artur Beterbiev was catching a lot of them on the arms and gloves, and the commentary, was completely biased. Not only did I feel like Dmitry Bivol did not win that fight, but remember, Artur Beterbiev was the undisputed champion going into that fight. So did Dmitry Bivol, do enough to take the belts off the champion? In my opinion, absolutely not. The same way that when Lomachenko fought Devin Haney, there was just no way that Devin Haney did enough, in my opinion, to win that fight. So, look, I would have been okay, if they would have given Dmitry Bivol a draw, maybe. But no, I don't think he won that fight. And as soon as he won it, there's been a few different things with Dmitry Bivol. Number one, obviously, becoming undisputed. You talk about the fact that this was a goal of yours and you wanted all the belts. And what do? Immediately you vacate the WBC title. When Beterbiev becomes mandatory. I think that's maybe a little bit of a deeper discussion. The fact that Mauricio Suleiman, he never wanted to call Canelo's mandatory. Then as soon as Beterbiev becomes mandatory because Bivol wins it, he calls for that fight. So I can understand that. I really can. But as well, I think if you become undisputed, you should fight your mandatory. We've seen Artur Beterbiev against Dmitry Bivol twice already. I think all of us would want to see Bivol against Beterbiev. Beterbiev is the young up-and-coming guy. So I really would have enjoyed that fight. Dmitry Bivol vacated that title. And now it seems like, again, he is trying to age out Artur Beterbiev to the point where if it happens, rumored to happen beginning of 2026, Artur Beterbiev is going to be 41 years of age. So I think a lot of people, again, they're failing to remember this. This is not Artur Beterbiev in his prime. This is Artur Beterbiev, coming off of injuries at the, complete end of his career. What would Artur Beterbiev in his prime do to Dmitry Bivol? I think it would knock him out. Okay, that's not being biased. That's my personal opinion. I think even in these two fights you've seen, as soon as Artur Beterbiev starts going to work, Bivol could not live with him. In the second fight, Artur Beterbiev, he got a little bit tired. I think, he got more tired in the middle rounds. But you have to remember, if this is Artur Beterbiev in his prime, the man's a machine. He just does not get tired. So I think he would have steamrolled Bivol. I think Artur Beterbiev is such a good fighter that even at 41 years of age, it would be a competitive fight. I'll definitely tune in, if that trilogy does happen. But again, a little bit disappointed in Dmitry Bivol. I think, ever since he's become undisputed, I think there's a few things you can look at. Again, this is a fighter that, in my opinion, did not want anything to do with Artur Beterbiev in his prime. And now his behavior, in terms of aging out Beterbiev, is just not the behavior of a champion, in my opinion. So as always, let me know what your guys' thoughts. Definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys had a nice weekend and everything. And I'll see you guys on the next one.